See, many people see my YouTube channel, so they go on my website, or they end up watching one of my ads on YouTube or Facebook. And they are quite impressed about these so-called superpowers that the Nei Qi Gong is able to develop. And the first thing that I say is actually that that's the most, for me at least, irrelevant thing, or at least it's just an external manifestation of a bigger process that is taking place. One of the aspects that is really, I would say, empowered during the practice is the intuition. Let's try to understand what intuition is. Intuition is using one aspect of ourself which is not strictly connected to our mind. So it's not the act of using our mind to gather certain data, come up with some kind of process, and then having some kind of conclusions about it. The intuitions happen naturally. It's something like maybe in a piece of music, when a musician all of a sudden he goes somewhere else and he brings down something he doesn't even know how he did that, or some particular intuition about life, some insights. Those things happen when we open up to a bigger dimension of reality, to a bigger intelligence. We can now discuss, or I would say, we can now argue the fact that there is something which is quite intelligent operating this whole thing, because we are quite confined in this body, but the whole universe and everything is operating, and there are millions, trillions, I don't even know what number would be good to use to count the number of processes that are happening while we're still focused on ourselves. So while the world is spinning, we're just thinking that our life is miserable, but there are so many other things operating. But without going that far into the universe, which might sound like a very, let's say, vague thing to say, let's think about our body. There are so many internal processes, from molecules moving and nerves and bloods. There is so much moving, and let's make it even simpler and more simple. Even the breath. The breath happens without us looking after it. It's a natural, intelligent thing that happens because we are alive. Using our intuition, somehow it means to be able to align ourselves to a greater intelligence, to a greater state which is not personal, which of course manifests through our minds, because we're this little thing living in the body and, you know, experiencing the universe through the body. But at the same time, there is a bigger connection that we can explore. The practice of Nei Qi Gong is capable to lead us in that direction, although it's very important to have the right attitude towards it. In fact, most of the time when people who are quite attracted by this kind of superpower, Qi manifestations, all those things, they just stay on a very low level of the energetic practice, because the more we grow in energy-wise, the more we are able to perform work, whether it is mental, spiritual, emotional, physical, and energetical as well. It's very important. The more energy we have, more possibilities open up. If we did the path in the right way, that's why I'm introducing also some extra module for my students if they want to attend, not mandatory for the Nei Qi Gong path, to try to understand a bit more what it means to go beyond the mind, or at least to transcend our mind movement. Because in that state we can really open up ourselves to a more intuitive state. And the practice of Nei Qi Gong can really take this thing very far. I'm not sure how far I can take it, because the more I practice, the more I realize that I don't know. There are so many things that can be explored. But for sure, operating from another perspective can change our life in the way that we live, in the way that we manifest and express ourselves in the world, in the way we deal with reality, unpleasant or pleasant situations. In one word, we can transcend and become more free from reality itself, while we can connect with something greater than ourselves, using and manifesting it through our intuitions, through a form of a greater intelligence. Unfortunately, we're not there all the time, otherwise we won't be here messing around in this human experience. But for sure there are methods and possibilities that we can explore to, let's say, move a bit higher, elevate ourselves to another state. At the same time, I want to clarify one thing, because it's very important to understand this. There is nothing to find more than ourselves. And the expectation of, or the sensation of not feeling complete and looking for something else, it's actually causing the problem itself. This openness towards a greater intelligence, towards a different way of being, whatever you want to call it, actually happens when we think more in ourselves, when we are able to stand and see all the movements, physical movements, emotional movements, mental movements, and transcend them. By transcending them, we can then become available by another way of operating. And this is quite a practical thing. I'm not talking about seeing angel walking by. Well, if you do that, that's your thing, why not? But I don't think this is the purpose. The purpose is to operate practically here using another form of intelligence, more natural. We could call it the natural way, we could call it Tao, we could call it enlightenment, we could call it whatever we want to call it. It's actually something not that special once we realize that it was also with us quite practical. There was no much work to do. Instead, we learn to undo, and we learn just to stay present and think more into the possibilities that open up when we transcend our human limitations. In the path of Nei Qi Gong, when we practice, we see all of them. We see that we have no control in the body when we do the first level. We realize that it's a bit disappointing, because we think that, I've been carrying this body around for 32, 35, 40, 50 years, and I'm not able to move it in a very simple way. What's wrong with that? Well, we see our physical limitation, we see our emotions, we are practicing or we're not practicing, we are not willing to do that. We see all the internal movements, because the more we calm, in a sense, our mind, the more we start to do some kind of work that is creating some inner stillness, well, it's removing other unnecessary activity, the more we are able to see ourselves, which can be a quite painful process at the beginning. Meditation is not about being blissful at the beginning. It's about pain, because you see the war within you, you see the discrepancies, you see that you think one thing, you feel another thing, you do another one. In the path also, or in the practice also, we see our mental movements. We see how the mind jumps from one side towards the other side. And although maybe we're practicing Nei Qi Gong, Qigong, whatever, meditation for 40 minutes, really we're doing the work maybe for only 2 minutes, because the rest, the mind, is going anywhere. So the practice helps us to be able to focus on one thing with our full attention without being absorbed by it. And this is a very important thing, because usually when we live our life, we are fully absorbed, for instance, in the flow of thinking. We are fully absorbed when we watch a movie into the character. We are fully absorbed into a pleasurable sensation like having sex, for instance. But we miss the possibility of living with a broader perspective, where all those things can exist, while at the same time we are free. We can transcend them. So the path is not a simple thing, in the sense that practicing is a way also to see where we are, and there is nothing wrong with that. It's so important where we are. It's more important what we do at the stage where we are. In fact, choosing to go in one direction, even one little step, putting a little bit of effort and discipline in our lives, can have enormous result in anything that we do. from living our daily life, from carrying on business, from dealing with other people, from having relationships, from even be ready to die with no problem about it. Because ultimately that's the real test. We can talk about spirituality and energy and powers, whatever it is, but at the end of the day there is a very practical thing. This life is gonna end. I mean, this experience is gonna end. Are we ready to do that in any moment with no issue? That's a good point to verify actually where we are, and that, you know, we are not cheating ourselves with thinking I'm a spiritual guy, I'm a good guy, I'm a bad guy. These are all just concepts. The sort of freedom we can find when we organize, in one sense, the aspects of our being by working with them can bring lots of joy, pleasure, and even ecstatic experiences. The energy path, the energy experience can get to a level where ecstasy becomes possible, but as a practical thing. And I'm just saying this only as an invitation and as a way to describe what it is possible to do. It's not relevant what I'm saying, in the sense that we can practice and find out for ourselves these things. If we learn and we do the things in the right way and we follow somebody at the beginning who can just give us some tips, not a guru, not somebody who is putting a chain on you, just somebody who is sharing with you a tool that you can practice, which is an effective one, proven by the people before, and that you can refer to when you have questions. This is what I mean. Working on ourselves, it's an individual process. We do it on our own. Our experiences, our own personal experiences. Unfortunately, there is no way to share our experiences with others. Any sort of experience. We have to do things firsthand. And unless we decide to do it practically, only the intellectual aspect is not going to help us. It can be an inspiring form, it can be a way to start having a sense of what it could be about. But even myself, I remember in the past reading certain things that made sense only when I actually experienced them firsthand. So there is no way that we can talk about who we are. But there are tools and there are systems that we can apply and that we can follow along with the help of a teacher at the beginning, just to see if we are going in the right direction. But it's a personal process, and I really invite everybody to look life horizontally, not making somebody more important than you. Just, if you go to somebody who knows, a builder, knows how to build houses, just make a little bit humble that that guy has something to teach you that you don't know. But it's not better than you. It's just another human being. And you are not worse than him or better than him. Just be smart in a good way, because this word is usually associated with bad behaviors, like taking advantage of others. Just go there and learn and realize that yes, more experienced about this topic. If he says something to you that doesn't make sense, just follow it if it is related to the practice. He's never going to tell you how to live, because those decisions are down to us. But if you want to learn technology, go to the techie guy and see how he does things or she does things, and then apply them and see if it is correct, if it is true.